Welcome to the Soul Talk podcast. I'm Mary Beth Rim, a mental health provider and coach. This podcast explores the mind, body, and spirit connection to support your wellness journey. However, it's not a substitute for medical care or therapy. So let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Mary Beth Rim. I am really incredibly grateful and privileged to have my special guest back, Dr. Lori Rothman. Hi, Doc. How's it going?
Hi, Mary Beth. It's going really well. Happy Thanksgiving weekend.
Happy
I
Thanksgiving
am
weekend.
I am grateful to be here with you as well. This is a really nice thing to do together.
I think so too. And this episode, the third in the series that we've been working on, our three-part series, we've been focusing on creating a healthy, balanced holiday season. The holidays are full of excitement and joy and connection, but they also bring some unique challenges. We talked about a bit about expectations, managing our mental and physical well-being. We also share some insights, and we're both really committed to health and exploring practical, compassionate strategies to help people feel more grounded and able to fully enjoy this season coming up. Again, thank you all for listening. The holiday season is more than just food, decorations, gift giving. It's an opportunity to nurture our relationships, to slow down and enhance our well-being. Reflect on the good of the past year by fostering positive elements during the holidays. It can also renew and recharge us, and also bringing meaningful, fulfilling experiences. Today I'm going to talk about, or actually we're going to talk about, several key elements that contribute to our overall sense of happiness and healthiness. We're going to talk about fostering joy, cultivating connection, and enhancing our well-being. Are you ready, Dr. Rothman? Are
I'm
you ready?
ready.
I'm ready. All right, let's go. Let's go. First, I'm going to talk about fostering joy. People ask me, what is joy? Why is it so
hmm
important? It's a powerful emotion. It can lift our spirits, and it strengthens our resilience as human
It
beings.
does.
And it can create really wonderful memories. As I was researching this, what really is
hmm
the meaning of joy? Because I'm not sure we actually really get a sense of what it is. This is what I found
Okay.
when I was doing some research. What is the meaning of joy? It means feeling connected to nature and being in harmony with it. And I'm going to expand on that, because what I think joy is not only feeling connected to nature and
hmm
being in harmony with it, but being connected within yourself and being in
Yeah.
harmony with yourself. And I think that's really what brings out joy.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think nature is one aspect of joy and can bring a feeling of joy. You can think of like, well, what is joy versus what is happiness? And joy is a more enduring feeling.
Yeah.
Joy is contentment within yourself. And it might be joy from accomplishments, joy from long term relationships, joy from your connection to maybe your faith or the universe, and maybe joy from like a connection to nature and the world. Happiness, on the other hand, is more fleeting. Like lots of
Yes.
things can make us happy. We can be happy, we can have a good meal and that could make us happy. We could watch a movie and it makes us laugh and we leave that feeling happy, but it's fleeting. Joy is what's enduring and gives us resilience because it
Absolutely.
stays. Because you can actually have joy and unhappiness at the same time. And I'll give you an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
yeah, like we could be joyful about our work, right? You and I
Mhm.
both have careers that I think we're in because they bring us joy, because we get fulfilled from the intellectual stimulation, from the joy of helping others. But you can have a really stressful day or a difficult client or a sad outcome. It doesn't take the sadness of maybe a loss, doesn't take away from the joy of your career and your
Yeah.
fulfillment from it.
Exactly. Yeah. And those are the things that I think we need to look at, is that because a lot of people focus on the external and they focus on the happiness instead of going within and focusing on, like you said, I love that point of that we can feel joy in our careers or relationships, but yet also feel sad. And I've had those feelings. I know
Right.
exactly
So of
where you're going
course
with
we
that.
want, to have happiness and joy together, and often do. But I felt when I was also like, researching and thinking about this, I was thinking because joy is such a grounding
Yes.
quality and a grounding feeling that it can help us sustain us. And, when we think of even just like the expression joy to the world, well, what does that mean? We're not looking for fleeting happiness, we're looking for depth.
Mm-hmm. And
And we can get that in our social relationships. And part of this season from, Thanksgiving through New Year's, we talk about joy, but where do we really get it? Opening a gift that something we really wanted can make us happy. But connecting with someone we love, that brings us joy.
absolutely. Definitely. That's where some of our traditions with others as well we have and kind of carry on, but also having new traditions.
Yes, absolutely. And traditions change as families evolve and, you know, life evolves, people move and make new connections and tradition. We have to be able to go with it. And I think there's sometimes a little sadness as traditions change, as family, older generations, leave us, and then we have to recreate tradition and recreate where to find that joy again. So I can tell you, like yesterday, while I was preparing one of my family's traditional Thanksgiving dishes, I was using my grandmother's recipe for stuffing. And I was thinking about all the times as a young child that I would be helping her in the kitchen. And that was our tradition. And then, yesterday I was kind of doing it by myself, and it didn't make me sad. It made me really happy because I had these wonderful memories that came as I was tearing the bread and sauteing the onions and smelling the aromas. It brought me back to those days in my grandmother's kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. I mean, our tradition kind of changed up a lot this year as well. Usually we're the ones that do all the work and all the cooking. And this year we went to our son and we had such a relaxed, good time. It was just so much fun just watching the grandkids run around and, you
Oh,
know,
that's
and
wonderful, Mary Beth.
and play. And that right there was just so joyful. It just was just like, wow. And at the end, it was just kind of melted my heart because when we all said goodbye, both Mila and Harvey, those are my grandkids, they're like, give each other a hug. They run around, they give each other a big old hug. And
Isn't that sweet?
it was the cutest thing. I mean, that was just, you could just feel inside that
Yeah,
joy.
and that's the point.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the point.
It's
Which kind of
also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, but you finish what you were saying.
Okay. It also brings me to the last point of this is that it's just appreciating being together and appreciating ourselves.
You know, so just to contrast with that, you can't help but think about how there is an increase in people who don't have that at this moment, and how if you're lacking your social connections, or if you've had a recent loss, or could be a death, a divorce, a loss of a job, or you are estranged from family and friends, how you might feel more lonely than
Yeah,
usual at this time of year. And because we're supposed to feel joy and happiness, but we can't always create that, and it's not always there for us. And how it's really important to look out for others in our community who might be feeling socially isolated and who might be feeling lonely, and doing little things like just reaching out with a phone call, hey, how you doing, I was thinking of you, could really change someone's day
absolutely.
of connectedness.
Right. And what it does is that feeling, it reduces or releases endorphins, it reduces stress, and it just
Hmm.
spreads positivity to
Absolutely.
others. I mean, it's genuine. It's when we're genuinely spreading that to others. It's
And it's good for you.
it's good
It's
for
good for
us.
you too.
Yeah, and it's just a relaxed, easy moment.
Yeah,
No.
so I would, encourage everyone to send that text, make that phone call, drop off that little gift you were thinking of, or that extra pumpkin pie, um, and make others feel important too. And that'll be good for yourself and the community and the people you care about.
Yeah, I agree. And talking about connection, as humans, we're wired for connection. We need connection. That's the heart of who we are as human beings.
Right. And there's a big crisis of social connection right now.
Yeah.
I mean, social connections, I mean, that's what is that? Our relationships with our family, with our friends, with our community, with our coworkers. And if we're lacking in those social connections, it can really affect us physically and mentally.
Hmm. Yeah, you want to expand on
Yeah. I mean,
that?
those social connections, when we have them, that gives us the support that we need to be able to take care of ourselves, to be able to have the motivation and sometimes the physical resources, even to do the things we need to do to promote our own health and well-being. And people who don't have the social connections and have that sense of loneliness don't take care of themselves as well, and actually have shockingly different health outcomes.
Mm.
Our Surgeon General last year in 2023 declared kind of a crisis of social connectedness and loneliness. And some of the numbers were really astounding. 1 in 3, I want to get this correct, 1 in 3 adults feel lonely. 1 in 3. I mean, a third of people are
That's a
feeling
lot.
lonely and disconnected,
Oh.
and a quarter don't have adequate social or emotional support, which also means that there's a group in there who has the social emotional support and still feels lonely.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot, though, is that we're so connected to our phones and
Mm-hmm.
technology that we don't get that connection in person anymore or as much as what we should.
Abs- Absolutely. I think a few things changed. One is, we had the pandemic, and that
Yeah,
really isolated people, and loneliness and disconnectedness and increased, and health outcomes decreased
yeah,
all at the same time. And now, that we're kind of thankfully moving beyond that, we also have the increasing use of technology, which in some ways enhances our lives, but in other ways
yeah.
can really isolate people.
Yeah, and it's
And
also
we do it to ourselves. You could be
we
scrolling on your phone instead of, making a phone call.
that is true. It's kind of like an hour that I'm not going to get back.
Right. Like I think, a lot of us are really guilty of that. And, there probably is a
Yeah,
much better use of our time.
it is. And I think, though, that comes to another point is that strengthening bonds also gives us a sense of belonging. Maslow, if you ever studied his hierarchy of needs, one of the
Sure.
is called love and belonging. And we
Yep.
all want to feel like we belong.
Yeah, no, social connection is a fundamental human need.
It
It's just
is.
as it's on the same level with food, water, and shelter.
Absolutely.
That feeling of, being needed, being cared for, and to be the one caring for. We all need that, and it's really important. And there are a lot of things that put us at risk for not having that. So people who suffer from a chronic illness or
Mhm.
a disability are at much higher risk from loneliness and social disconnection. People, I'm sure, as you've seen, who those of us, people who are suffering from depression,
Yeah.
anxiety, or other psychiatric illnesses, much higher risk of feeling lonely or socially isolated. Interestingly, on the rise is young adults. I often think of my older adult patients as being at risk,
Yes.
but
No.
young adults are the loneliest of everyone. And I think that is what reflects back to what you were saying about technology.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen kids in their
Hmm.
young 20s and they were anxious, they were lonely, even though they were more connected than ever, they were just
Right.
really and not, and it was just they were lacking in that social, the getting together in person. It's like you said, especially during the pandemic, a lot of those kids that were in college at that time, they were taking online classes and not really
Again,
connecting.
not connecting at all. And a lot of them just did not succeed that year.
No, they didn't.
And were, the 2020 high school graduates. I have one of those 2020 high school graduates
Oh, wow.
who, yeah, who, went to college and it was completely online, and it didn't work for him.
Yeah.
He didn't have that. He was, by himself in a room. Like, it didn't make any sense.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And
I had clients that were just like that. They would be holed up into their dorm rooms or their apartments. And even though they had roommates, they weren't really connected to them
yeah.
either.
And, I've spoken to some of his friends who were at different colleges and had the same experience. And a lot of them left college and, maybe have gone back since or haven't gone back yet, but it changed their whole way of experiencing college, which is really supposed to be a very social time.
It is supposed to be a very social time because that's where you build your connections. That's where you build your
Right, that may take you through your career.
it does. That's where you build your network, or you're supposed
Right.
to
And
build your network.
so, there are a lot of risk factors, and one of them I think is that one. And people who live in rural areas
Hmm.
are at higher risk of being disconnected. People who have transportation issues, lower income people have a higher risk of loneliness and difficulty with connections. And then domestic violence, important one
Yes.
to be aware of. Anyone suffering
Yes.
from domestic violence, they're often isolated just by the nature of it's either the person who is abusing them is isolating them,
Yeah.
or there's all of shame around it
Oh
and they're
yeah.
isolating themselves.
Definitely. Definitely. I also believe in social connections.
My little dog over here is feeling lonely and wants some of my attention.
He just wants
So
some.
I'm gonna
He just wants some
I'm gonna bring
love.
her. She wants some love, so we're gonna bring her into this so she's not
Absolutely.
feeling so lonely. Yeah,
I believe in quality relationships over
yeah,
quantity. Listen more, show empathy, and really engage into those meaningful conversations. Somebody told me a long time ago, and this is where social connections come in, is that we just sort of like have all of these people in our lives and we don't really connect
hmm
with them. And somebody had told me a long time,
right.
he said, he said, be interested, not interesting.
I like that a lot.
And I think about that all the time when I connect with people, is that because we do have a tendency of talking about ourselves all the time and
Right,
make,
that's a great message though. Be interested. I think that's just like it's a
yeah,
really lovely way of like embracing active listening.
it is. It is. And that's how you become more genuine, is really
Yeah, that's wonderful.
to be more interested in who you're across from. Or even if it's online, doesn't really matter.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
And to
you
be
can have
more,
family or friends across the world and you can do a video chat and you can make that same connection.
absolutely.
And
I do it all the
doing
time.
that, connecting, being interested and being connected will decrease your risk of heart disease, it will decrease your risk of stroke, of diabetes, of 50% decreased risk of dementia for people who feel connected.
Yeah. And social connection, I believe, is a gift. It
Yeah.
is a
So Mary Beth, what can we do? How do we get more connected? Other than, the staying interested, how do we find those to connect with?
Well, what are your interests? What do you really love to do? Some of my loves are, fitness. I'm really big on that. I do both online and off. I
Okay.
used to run a running group. I had developed a running group. We had, gosh, when we first started, I think we must have had about 20 people that showed up at 5 a.m.
Right. Wow, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
it was.
Actually, like I, the times I've had a partner, I've never had a group, but a partner to exercise with, it was always the person who was willing to meet me at 5 a.m. because
Yeah,
that's when I could do it. And I had one in medical school, and I've had one on and off over the years.
yeah.
And it was really a wonderful way of getting in the exercise and the connection because we had great conversations during those times.
Right, right now, because since the pandemic it fell apart, everybody went their separate ways, which is fine. We still
Right.
we still see each other from time to time, but I still have one person that shows up pretty consistently once a week, and like you said, we have the best conversations. We just talk about everything. Sometimes we try to save the world, and sometimes we don't.
Right.
You know
You know what? Like maybe you will, but maybe you will save the world. And that
exactly.
that leads to, volunteering is a wonderful way
Yeah,
to
yeah,
feel connected, to express gratitude. It's good for your own soul and it's good for the rest of the world as well.
yeah.
Um,
And it
and I think,
definitely lowers your anxiety and depression as well. It really just sort of like lifts you up.
yeah, so find those people who share values with you or who share interests with you I sometimes like to host, Friday night Shabbat dinners, and I have a few friends who I might say, come over and cook with me, and we'll do
Yeah,
it together. And actually, it's very gratifying. It's a way to connect and be social and share that experience.
exactly. Cooking is
It doesn't
also,
always have to be something big or
no, it's just in it. It's quality over quantity.
even like grabbing a cup of coffee, or like sometimes I'll meet a friend and we'll go shopping at the farmers market together,
Yeah,
because maybe there's not enough time to do an extra thing, but something you're going to do anyway, to
right,
do it with someone.
right. And that way you get that connection that day, lifts your spirits, you're feeling good, and you walk away, oh, I needed that. You don't know how many times
Yeah.
when we've gone out for a run and at the end, I just needed that today. And it just helped. And then we'll send each other a text later in the day. Thanks for showing up. Enhancing our well-being is kind of the last piece of this, our physical well-being, recharging, taking care of ourselves, activities like walking, nourishing meals. Rest is super important.
Yeah,
I
I
I found that
I'm
out in the last couple of weeks of how rest is really, really important.
yeah, physical rest and mental rest, adequate sleep. We've talked about that, but trying to make sure you're getting your 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night
Yep.
if you can. Nourishing your body with healthy food and hydration. Staying away, it's really easy to overindulge in sugar and fatty foods and alcohol. Trying to keep those in moderation. All of those are going to help us nourish our well-being during the season and all year round.
Right. Again, holidays bring stress, bring joy, but it's also important to practice presence, mindfulness.
Absolutely. Put your phone down while you're having that conversation. Give someone your full attention.
Yeah, one of the rules in my house when we're having a meal is phones go in the other room
I love it.
because the kids scroll through their phones. Where did the phone go?
Yeah, no, that's great.
You want to be present in the moment.
Makes a big
It makes
difference.
a huge difference. If you're scrolling on your phone, you're not paying attention. You're not
You're not
there.
really present.
You're not
Right,
present.
exactly.
Setting boundaries is really important. You don't have to do it all.
Right, and you don't have to do everything, and you can say no sometimes.
Yep.
Getting out in nature, if you're able to, really important, very grounding, very good for your recharging your body and soul.
It is.
Laughing
Oh, that's another. That's yes.
and smiling.
Smiling.
Smiling can improve your mood. Even if you're just smiling, even if you're not happy, it can actually give you that dopamine and serotonin and kind of trick yourself into being happy.
It does. It really does. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because it's just, I notice a big
because that
difference.
happiness is actually physiologic.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And also having a practice of gratitude, just the
Yes, of
positives.
course.
I don't practice that every day, and I really should. But I do express appreciation every day for people in my life, for, what I
Yeah.
have.
So I read one article that was saying that people who have a gratitude journal, and it didn't have to be long-winded, just writing down one thing every day for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
had like 25% increase in happiness.
Hmm.
So, what I take away from that is, even if you don't write it down, just reflect on it. What am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for right now? And it makes us appreciate what we have,
Hmm.
and feel better, and then do more things to reinforce it.
Right. One of my things that I really like to do, or I do in the evening, helps with sleep and just kind of wind down from the day, is to reflect on the day. What went right? What could I do better? I like to reflect on what did I do good today and what can I improve on? Because there's
I like that.
always room for improvement. And I
Absolutely. Without being too hard on yourself, I hope.
no, not being too hard on myself. This holiday season, really reflect on what does it mean to you? What do the holidays mean to you? How do you have a sense of peace and clarity, and focus on what truly matters? Because that's really what this is about. What what is meaningful to you?
Yeah, I think that's a really nice approach. And I like the idea at the end of the day of taking a moment and thinking, what went well, what didn't go well, what could I do better, and what am I grateful for?
Absolutely. And it does really bring you that sense of peace and gratitude to just go, wow, I did this today. You
Because
just
I think we forget, you get busy and you just go through doing so many things and kind of forget what happened.
yeah, you just have that sense of
Yeah, I'm gonna try this. I like that. I'm gonna embrace that.
yeah, it's just a sense of, again, it's connecting with yourself,
Right.
which often leads to bringing joy. And
Yeah, because I think a lot about connecting with others, but I think forget about the connecting with oneself part.
well,
That's a whole other
that's a
subject.
whole other subject that actually I did an entire, I don't know, 6 months on. And that's really, that's a really good one because it's really about deepening your inner self. And it's something that we don't do as human beings because, again, we're so focused on all the negative stuff that's going on and out there and not focusing on what's really deep inside. And that's really important. That's why I really believe that at the end of the day, really reflect on, who am I? What did I do good today? How can I improve? So, as we wrap up today's episode and the series, so let's take a moment and really reflect on the essence of the season. Embrace that joy, deepen those connections with others, also yourself, and prioritize your well-being, right?
Absolutely.
And also spread kindness. I just really believe that.
I think that's a really good message to end with, to spread
Yeah,
kindness and embrace gratitude.
yeah, and presence, kindness, understanding. It's really what we all crave and what we all really
Yeah.
need, I think. So thank you so much for spending time with us today. Thank you, Dr. Rothman, again for being here. This has been such a privilege and a pleasure. And I hope that these insights inspire you to approach the season with a more open heart and a positive mindset. So until next time, cherish the moments and keep the spirit of joy and connection alive. Thank you again. Thanks for tuning in to the Soul Talk podcast. Remember, every step you take brings you closer to a healthier, more balanced life. Keep investing in yourself, stay mindful, and join us next time as we continue the journey. Until then, keep moving.